Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Steph and I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder type 1 with psychotic features and mixed episodes in 2017. Prior to that diagnosis, I had tons of symptoms. I had psychotic episodes, I lost touch with reality, I had crippling depression, I had all the symptoms, but I had been misdiagnosed over and over again. So I have a lot of experience with trauma. So I do this channel to try to help people better understand bipolar disorder. And one of my big aims is to help loved ones better understand someone that they care about that might have bipolar disorder. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about my time in jail. So if you can relate, leave a comment. Bipolar disorder lands a lot of us in jail. It is not uncommon for someone with bipolar disorder to have a criminal record. And I've landed in jail several times. And a few of those times it was entirely my fault, 100% my fault. Like, for example, a DUI. But all the other times were the result of psychotic symptoms. And today I'm going to be talking about my very last time in jail because it was the longest time in jail, and I've been to jail a lot. So this particular length of time, I'm going to be talking about some adult themes. So be wary of that if that bothers you. So yeah. What else was I going to say? I don't edit my videos, so just a fair warning. Okay. If you are interested in learning more about bipolar disorder, please subscribe. Okay, let's get started today. Where was I? All right. In 2015, towards the end of 2015, I got married. And a few months later, I went into a manic episode, a severe psychotic episode that left me wandering the streets. I had a delusion about my husband, and I was completely out of my mind. He could not keep me in the home. It was very difficult. There's a whole nother video all about that. But let's just focus on the jail part. Basically, I had a really bad psychotic episode, hurt my family, hurt my husband immensely, did a lot of horrible things, was unsafe, drove at very high speeds on the freeway, because when people are in mania, or psychosis, they don't understand consequences. They participate in riskier behavior like gambling, speeding, a lot of different things. So it started off with the manic episode. I ended up one night wandering around, because this is what I would do. I would wander around, walk around, just walk and walk and walk. And I was having a delusion. I remember going into this area that was like, it was like a house, but it was almost like an AA type meeting, something run by a church. Anyways, I had gone in there, and I remember they had big bags of clothes in one of the room, and I took a hoodie from there. And no one was there. And I remember I went in their refrigerator and I made a sandwich. And I remember finding like a canister to fill up balloons. And for some reason, I thought this was really important. I was delusional. I thought at the time that I worked for the CIA. I thought that people were following me. I thought I was hiding. I had all of these delusional thoughts that were not based in reality, but I had lost touch with reality. Because I was experiencing symptoms of mania and psychosis. So that same night, I walked over across the street, and I somehow managed to get into this apartment complex. And I went into the apartment complex, and I remember sitting there, and what I really wanted to do was I really wanted to get in the pool and take clean myself, but I was too afraid to take a shower at the almost AA type place. They had a shower there, but I was afraid to use it. But I was like, hadn't had a shower, so I really was like wanting to get into the pool or the hot tub. So I was kind of like creeping around there. And I remember sitting on this rock for a while, and I hear this dog incessantly barking, just barking. And I think, oh my God, that dog needs my help, because I'm delusional. And when you have delusional symptoms with bipolar disorder, they're very grandiose. You can think that you are very important, that you know things that other people don't know. Hence my delusion that I worked for the CIA, right? That's makes me special in some way and secretive. And so people will think like be overly elated and stuff. But I was sitting out there and thought this dog needed my help. And so I decided I needed to go in this apartment. I did not go in this apartment to steal anything. I went into the apartment because I literally thought the dog was in trouble and I had to fix them somehow. And then as soon as I got in, I was afraid of the dog because I think the dog was like hiding under the bed. I don't even know if there was really a dog there because I was in psychosis. So I remember a dog being there, and that's what I thought was happening at the time, but that very well could have been a delusion. So I went into this apartment and the people came home and they thought I was there to rob them. They were very scared. They called the police and I got scared and I ran, and then the police went and grabbed me and arrested me and took me straight to jail. And I remember not saying anything because I had always been told, don't say anything to police if you're arrested. Just don't say a word. So I hadn't said anything to them. And I kind of blacked out on my way to the jail. I just remember being in the back seat and I don't remember anything after that. My next memory is I'm at the jail and I'm getting fingerprinted. And then I'm in this huge cell by myself on a mat somewhere. But I wasn't in the actual jail part yet. I was like in the local jail. I hadn't been transferred to the women's jail, what they call Lynwood jail for women here. So I get there and I am completely erratic, screaming and yelling at the police officers and passing out intermittently. And so then they transfer me over to the other jail, the women's jail. I get there and I don't remember them taking my DNA, although I was booked on a felony charge because they tried to say that I was burglarizing the place. So they usually take your DNA, but I don't remember that. I remember having to take off all my clothes and walk through an X-ray machine. And I remember being taken to, I remember waking up in my individual cell. And so I woke up in the cell and I had like lost all this time. All of this time was gone. I knew what had happened. I remembered I had gone into the house and everything, or the apartment, and but I was still in psychosis. And so for a few days I just slept. And I remember one of the police officers came and I wanted to take a shower. This was after probably a week I was there and I had been sleeping, because when you're in mania, you don't sleep at all. So I probably had weeks of sleep to catch up on. So I'm pretty sure like the first week I was there, I just slept. But it was a tough experience in the jail. In the beginning, they took me to a very high security where the mental people with mental health issues are. And so it was a big room, you know, like if you've ever seen jails on TV, and each person was in an individual room. There weren't two people to a room because we were potentially dangerous. And they would let you out of your cell only to eat lunch. And when you came out, they would handcuff you to a table. So you would only have one hand free to eat while you were out. Or maybe the chain was longer, so you could use both hands, but you were still chained to the table. So it was really high security. And it was really awful in this area of the jail. When I first got to the jail, they asked me a bunch of questions. A lady came and asked me a bunch of questions. It was probably somebody that works like in the housing, deciding where to put someone. And she was asking me like, have you ever gotten in a fight with anyone? Stuff like this. And I answered all their questions. So and they ended up transferring me to another section of the jail later, which I'll get into. But the original place was very, very scary. When I would sleep there at night, there would be screaming all night long. There was one person who got next to me who would just kick the wall next to me, and I would just hear this pounding and screaming all night long. And there were some disturbing events that took place. For example, when they were taking me out to go to take a shower, because they'll let you leave the room to go take a shower, I look to my left and there's the cells, there's windows on the top, and then the bottom is metal, but there's a window on the top, and I see like the top half of this woman who's totally naked and screaming conjugal visit, and so that was taking place. The person in the cell next to me actually went number 2 in their sink, which I had no idea about. It's just that because I was in my cell, I couldn't smell it, thank goodness. But I was in my cell, and I remember the police coming over and talking about, the officers talking about the other cell. So that was pretty disgusting. And then there were a couple of times where they tackled people to the ground because they got out of hand and gave them a sedative shot. So it was pretty scary in that area, but they transferred me to a different area for nonviolent people like myself. And this was not so bad because I was in the cells, but I was able to come out of my cell during the day. I wasn't locked in. So we only had to stay in the actual cell for for a couple hours a day for like nap time, and then when we sleep at night. But they let us come out in the day, and there were coloring books, and there was like coloring books and pens and pencils, and everybody could be, it was a lot like a psychiatric hospital, which I was used to. So I felt a lot more comfortable there. And I was there for about 3 weeks. And what had happened is that in California, I don't know where it is anywhere else, but in California, you have to be mentally fit to defend yourself before you can be charged. So they held me incompetent because I went to court and I started screaming the first time I went to court. I don't remember it, but I started screaming and yelling about something. So the judge said, "You're incompetent, you can't defend yourself." So they had some pilot program at the time where they send you to this other jail to make you competent, teach you about the law. You have to understand what's an attorney, what's a plaintiff, and what's a defendant. And so they have this pilot program, right? So I'm in the other area now, the like chill part of the jail. And I was there in the jail in LA County downtown for about 3 weeks. And it was a horrible experience. One more thing that happened, they let you go and watch movies once in a while. If you're good, they'll let you go in these cages, and then they put a TV out, and then you can watch a movie, but the person next to you is in a cage as well. And this lady was trying to get me to give her socks, and she was in they call it unaliving vest. She was wearing that. So she was already risk. So she was just hammering at me, saying that that they accused her of killing her baby, and that she was in there and she didn't do it. And I really needed to give her my socks. She just had such cold feet, and she just really just wanted a pair of socks. And I'm like, dude, you're wearing that vest. I ain't giving you my socks. Plus I need my socks. It was freezing in there. It's freezing in jail. They give you like a little mat that's like this thick to lay on. And then they give you these really thin, like cotton blankets. It's so super thin. It's always cold in there. I was always cold. I was always freezing. But after I was deemed incompetent and I'd spent 3 weeks, in LA County, they transferred me to another jail in Rancho Cucamonga. And this was where I was going to become competent. So they asked me all these questions when I first got there. At this point, I learned in LA County, downtown in LA County jail, that if I took my medication, I would get out sooner. This is what I believed. So I started taking medication when I was in LA County jail, because at the time I had something called anosognosia. So I did not know that I was psychotic. And when you don't know that you're psychotic, it's extremely difficult for you to agree to take medication. But because I was in jail, I thought in my own head, if I just take the medication, I'll get out sooner. So I had been medication compliant by the time they had transferred me to the Rancho Cucamonga jail. And the Rancho Cucamonga jail was scary. It was really different from LA County, but it was scary. They were both, it was all scary. It was all really scary. I'm in LA County jail in like the mental health section, like the area where people have psychiatric problems and they're in there because they've done something really bad. Like what I did was like not that bad. So it was all really scary. But at Rancho Cucamonga, you know, they have me go through, they give me this pamphlet, what is a defendant, what is, you know, that stuff I was talking about. Then they had like little groups. It was almost like being in a psychiatric hospital, pretty much the same, except I was locked in a cell. And I met some really interesting people there. I met some really cool people. They were all completely psychotic, like myself. One lady was convinced that she was pregnant. She believed that she was having the second coming of Jesus, and that it might take, she doesn't know how long her pregnancy is going to take because it's not a normal pregnancy. And I knew she wasn't pregnant. And but she believed she was pregnant, and I watched her sitting with the doctor because the psychiatrist would come and talk to us. I watched her sitting with him, and he's telling her, you know, there's no baby, and she's just like, yeah, and she's not believing him at all. And she walked around like with her hand on her stomach all the time and like kind of purging out her stomach. But she was a really sweet lady. And then there were a couple of women in there that were, I believe, experiencing symptoms of schizophrenia because they would talk to themselves and say some things that were kind of frightening. One of them said something that was kind of frightening. She said something, oh, they're talking about chopping up body parts and putting them in the fridge. And I was like, whoa, that's a little bit much. But she didn't appear dangerous. It was like she saw someone do that and she was having a delusion of that. I don't know. But I wasn't scared of any of the people there. There was only one time where I got really scared. And I had made friends with a few of the women there. Not really made friends, but whatever, you know. So I was talking to this one lady. She had she stabbed her boyfriend in the head with a screwdriver. She said that he did it and blamed it on her, but that's what she was charged with. So I don't know what happened. I do know that I do believe that she had a mental health diagnosis like myself, though. And I do believe that she believed that that's what happened. I don't know if that's what happened. And there was one lady who just like, she never washed her hair. She didn't talk to anybody, but she would come down when we were eating, when they would give us food, because we'd be in our cells all day, but when it was time to eat, we would be able to come out. So I went from LA County, the mental health chill area where I could come out of my cell and hang out, to being back to trapped in a cell. But I did get to come out for an hour a day and walk around. But there was one instance where I got really scared, and I was there in my cell, and we were supposed to be in individual cells, and they put somebody in the cell with me. And she was in there for doing something kind of violent, and she started having delusions and talking to herself and hitting herself in the head. And I got really scared. But I just kind of like curled up in a ball on my bunk. And the next time we went out for like a little, I think, dinner or whatever, and we were walking around, she didn't listen to one of the guards, and the guard got upset with her. And so because of that, and one of my friends, the lady that I had been talking to, the one that stabbed her boyfriend with a screwdriver, she she like stuck up for me and was like, hey, she's being this way or whatever. I didn't ask her to, she just noticed. And so then the police came and they grabbed that chick out of my room and they put her in a different room. And then they transferred me over to a big giant cell, which was really cool because actually they didn't take her out, they transferred me out. So they put me in the big giant cell, which was really cool because somebody had left a mat in there before. So I had my mat, because they have you take your mattress. And so I put my mattress on top of that mattress. So I had two mattresses. So I was stoked about that. It's the little things in jail, right? But the part that I haven't talked about in all this is how much pain I caused my family, how much pain I caused my husband, how he stuck by my side and did everything he could to try to help me. So I can tell you what happened in jail, and I can tell you, you know, what I was thinking and what I was feeling and everything, but there's a huge part of the story that I'm leaving out. So, but that's my jail experience. It was crazy, and there's a lot more, which maybe I'll get into in a different video, but because there was some banana stuff at other places too, other jails that I was at. But thank you for watching. If you are interested in learning about bipolar disorder, a lot of my videos are way more informative. This one I had a couple people asking about my jail experience, so this is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you guys. Bye.